LoveLore Library. Chapter 361. This is a setup too. Is Tang Zi a traitor? Nonsense. Empress Nalan had been dead for many years. The original master did not understand the situation. Even so, Tang Zi had endured all the hardships and she had never given up. How is it possible that Tang Zi is a traitor? Tang Yin was stunned too. It was impossible that Tang Yin did not know about Tang Zi, who had served in the Iron-Blooded Army. But she had never guessed that Tang Yin came from the Tang family. It seemed that Master Tang Yi was the one who had protected Tang Yin that year when she was being harmed by the Tang family. Xiao Yin, Tang Yin turned and she was met with a pair of cold and distant eyes. There was a deep anger in the young girl. The wind all around had become wild too. Feng Ruqing was like a fierce lion. Tang Yin had never seen Feng Ruqing like that. But, her being like that could calm people down. Tang Yin bit her lip and she held Feng Ruqing's hand. It was like her actions showed that she would always stand by Feng Ruqing's side no matter what happened. Forever. Never give up. Master, all that I do is for Xiao Yin's sake. Tang Yi had his own decisions. He could choose not to believe Feng Ruqing. He also would never believe in Tang Yin. Maybe, there's really something between young Master Nan Xian and Feng Ruqing. Tang Yi searched for a partner for Tang Yin before because he wanted a strong force as a protection for her. If Feng Ruqing did have some kind of relation with young Master Nan Xian, then maybe Feng Ruqing could protect Tang Yin too. Tang Yi sighed softly. Xiao Yin, I can only do this much for you. If you don't like the Tang family, then just don't ever come back here, Tang Yi. Tang Luo's facial expression changed suddenly. He scolded angrily, Tang Er, Tang Si, Tang Wu, go and take Ina away. I don't want her to turn rogue. Elder Tang San was ordered to go and look for Tang Yu as he was not at the Tang family at the moment. There were only 4 elders in the Tang family. It was apparent that Tang Yi wanted to side with Tang Yin. Tang Er said nothing and did nothing. It seemed that he had ignored Tang Luo's command. Tang Si and Tang Wu were prepared and ready. They walked toward Tang Yin. Stop! Tang Yi was outrageous. The wild wind blew at his sleeves. There was a determination in Tang Yi's eyes. I am here today. No one can touch Ina. He turned and looked at Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing, just take Ina away from the Tang family. I could hold them here. Feng Ruqing seemed calm. There was no emotion which Tang Yi could see in her seemingly calm black eyes. He continued talking. I just ask for a favor. Please take care of Ina for me. I'll let you leave without a scratch today if you're able to take good care of her. Ina was not Tang Yi's granddaughter, but Tang Yi treated her like one because it was he who had taken care of her since young. Tang Yi was also the only person who treated Tang Yin with a true heart in the Tang family. Tang Er chose Tang Yin because of his strong friendship with Tang Yi. Feng Ruqing was still silent. There seemed to be a great storm in her seemingly calm eyes. She raised her eyes and scanned all the people present there. Suddenly, there was a cold sneer on her face. I came to the Tang family for a deal. Now, it seems that this reclusive world isn't a big deal. The Tang family was just labeling people as traitors because of what the others said. How could Tang Zi have endured all of this here for 20 years? If Tang Zi did not meet my mother, would Tang Zi still be alive now? Chapter 362. This is a setup 3. There was growing anger in Feng Ruqing when she thought of this. It was like she had swallowed a lot of gunpowder and it almost exploded. At first, Feng Ruqing disliked only Tang Luo. The 2 elders of the Tang family were snobbish, but it was normal. Feng Ruching had no right to force others to sell the 5 spirit grass to her. But now, she not only disliked the Tang family, but she also had a sudden urge to destroy the Tang family because of Tang Zi. Little girl, you're being arrogant. You're only a girl from the secular world. You have no right to humiliate our reclusive world. Tang Wu moved fast and soon he was above Feng Ruching's head. He could see nothing and accept nothing. He fixed his cold eyes on Feng Ruching. He smiled and sneered. Feng Ruching still remained calm under this strong pressure. She raised her eyes calmly. Her eyes seemed to be deep in thought. Dark Warrior Tier, the elder from the Tang family is at Dark Warrior Tier. Stop. Tang Yi was angry. He attacked Tang Wu with a palm directly. Tang Si wanted to go and help but he was stopped by Tang Er. Tang Luo saw that Tang Yi wanted to stop Tang Wu and his eyes soon darkened. He said, Tang Yi, don't you want to know where Tang Zi is now? Tang Luo said those words calmly and he successfully distracted Tang Yi for a second. When Tang Yi recovered his senses and he wanted to stop the attack but it was already too late. Tang Wu's attack soon fell on Feng Ruching strongly. Tang Wu still could not see any fear in Feng Ruching up until that moment. It was just a fearless and sarcastic smile on her face. Everybody in this world was afraid of death. But there was only a type of person who would never bow down even if they were going to die. Tang Wu was stunned. He never thought that Feng Ruching was that stubborn. But she never should cling on to young Master Nan Xian and destroy the Tang family's arranged marriage. Suddenly, a soft wind blew and Tang Yin turned her body toward Tang Wu. She hugged Feng Ruching tightly and she looked pale. Her eyes were closed. Little lady. Qian Ning was in time to see that dangerous scene when she reached there. There was deep fear in her eyes and she could not help but cry. Ener, run away faster. Tang Wu saw that Tang Yin chose to stand against his attack and he soon felt nervous. He shouted immediately, quickly go. Hurry. It was too late. Tang Wu could not retract his attack. There was deep fear in Tang Wu and he seemed quite pale. All the others were anxious and in despair. They thought that Tang Yin liked Feng Ruching just a little bit because she had never made any friends. This kind of feeling was only temporary and it would soon be forgotten. So, they would choose to attack Feng Ruching even though Tang Yin was present. But, nobody could have guessed that Tang Yin would protect Feng Ruching like that. That was a love which was so strong that life was disregarded. Boom! Suddenly, a white light emerged from Feng Ruching's body. It was like a halo and it covered the two of them in that light. Tang Wu's attack fell on the outside of that halo and rebounded. Tang Wu's body was flung away and he fell onto the ground. There was a seemingly holy light on the young girl's face in the halo. She squatted down slightly and she hugged the little lowly back. Her hands were gentle and she patted Tang Yin's back. It's fine, Xiao Yin. We're fine. Tang Yin's body shook heavily. It seemed that she was frightened just now. Chapter 363. The Tang family is finished if she is hurt. Although Tang Yin was so frightened that she might collapse any minute, she still chose to protect Feng Ruching no matter what. All the others were stunned but they subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Tang Yin came from the Tang family and she was the hope of the Tang family's future. So, she must live. However, they saw that there was a blurry shadow in front of the halo when they calmed down. The man wore white clothes and he was handsome. He had a cold aura about him and he looked like a clean and pure lotus. There was a heavy silence in Tang Manor. It was pin-drop silence. All the others' eyes fell on the blurry image in front of Feng Ruching. There was deep fear in their eyes. Young Master Nan Xian. Tang Luo was stunned. She did not know why young Master Nan Xian was here. No, it did not seem right. It was not the real young Master Nan Xian but a mirage. Everybody understood now. But, even so, that image still represented young Master Nan Xian. That man seemed calm and serene. His beautiful voice was the voice of the devil now. All the people of the Tang family panicked. If I do not see Qing'er back home safe and sound in 3 days, it'll kill the whole Tang family. He stopped talking for a while before continue talking. I don't want her to lose even 1 strand of hair. I know very well how much hair Qing'er has. I'll count her hair when she's back. If she loses even a strand of hair, the Tang family will cease to exist. Feng Ruqing kept quiet. Tang Yin, who was shaking just now, also remained silent. The whole of the Tang family did not know what to say. Tang Yi was the first one to recover his senses. Although he was disappointed that Tang Yin could not be Nan Xian's wife, it seemed that Tang Yin had found someone she loved. Moreover, the person she loved was Nan Xian's woman. Hence, Tang Yin would always be protected by them. It was not much different from what he had wished before. Tang Yi could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Nan Xian's mirage disappeared after he finished talking. Tang Luo stood there helplessly. He looked in the direction where the image of Nan Xian had just disappeared. Is Feng Ruqing really Nan Xian's woman? Tang Luo clenched his fist. He thought of that possibility. His facial expression worsened and it was an ugly sight. But, he was not so daring as to want to attack Feng Ruqing again. The Tang family had spent quite a lot of effort in order to make Tang Yin fall in love with Nan Xian. They had always talked about Nan Xian's gentleness and kindness. But, nobody knew about Nan Xian's true characteristics. They did not guess that Nan Xian was that cruel and cold just by looking at his handsome face. Tang Wu was in despair and he was laying on the ground. It's over now. Feng Ruqing is really Nan Xian's woman. I attacked Nan Xian's woman just now. This is a misunderstanding. Tang Si wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead. He smiled and said, Lady Feng, our Tang family did not mean that. It was done out of the provocation of others. We have misunderstood. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes. Her calm gaze fell on Tang Si. A misunderstanding. She raised her hand and a sword appeared out of the air in her hand. The sword cut at Tang Si's arm and the blood gushed out quickly. Tang Si was a dark warrior now. Feng Ruqing would never beat him in a fight. But, who was daring enough to want to attack Feng Ruqing now? If she plucked out her hair intentionally and blamed it on the Tang family, young Master Nan Xian would surely make the Tang family disappear from the face of the earth. Tang Si decided to endure the pain as long as Feng Ruqing could release her anger. Feng Ruqing stood up and her face showed no emotions. My attack was a misunderstanding too. I hope that you won't mind. She attacked again when she was finished talking. Tang Si subconsciously avoided the attack this time. He did not want to endure another attack. He was unable to avoid the attack when he saw that Feng Ruqing had opened her sleeve and was looking for her own hair. Tang Si was so frightened that his body froze and did not dare to move an inch. Chapter 364, Feng Ruishuang. Tang Si's body was flung away from the sword's attack. The blood on his chest dirted his clothes. His face was pale. He fell backward in an awkward manner. Both Tang Wu and Tang Luo were stunned looking at that scene. They saw that Feng Ruqing had thrown her glances over at them. They soon felt that there was cold air rushing toward their heads. They could not even move their feet. Tang Wu almost burst into tears. Quickly tell Lady Feng how we have treated you all these years. Now, we know that it really was a misunderstanding. Can you ask her to stop given that we have taken care of you all these years? Tang Yin was stunned at first. She was skeptical. Then, her hesitance became helplessness. And you are? Tang Wu's old face froze at that. He could not even bring himself to smile just a bit. It was a waste, how he had treated Tang Yin all these years. He had treated her nicely. But, Tang Yin refused to admit her relation with him. Feng Ruqing held her sword in her hand and walked toward Tang Wu slowly. Shao Qing, Tang Yin was angry. This old man was really too wicked. How dare he try to claim that I'm related to him? I'm from the Princess Manor. I have no relation with that old man. You need to teach him a lesson for me. Tang Yin was not one of them anymore when they had decided to attack Feng Ruqing. The Tang family's destiny has nothing to do with me now. Tang Wu was stunned. He looked at the approaching Feng Ruqing. He was in fear and his legs were shaking. Lady Feng, we can talk this out. The attack came at him and Tang Wu did not dare to resist for fear that Feng Ruqing would go on and pluck out her own hair. So, Tang Wu endured the attack and it fell on his shoulders. Blood gushed out and his entire sleeves were covered in blood. This attack is for Tang Yin's sake. You have chosen Feng Yun Manor instead of her. Another attack came again. This attack is for how you dreamt of marrying my state preceptor to another person. This attack is for how snobbish the Tang family is. You forced Iner to do the things that she did not like without asking her opinion. And this attack is for how you tried to attack me just now. Feng Ruqing was able to protect herself without being killed by Tang Wu. But, Tang Yin came to protect her without bothering for her own life. Feng Ruqing could protect herself well but she could not guarantee that she could protect Tang Yin too. If the state preceptor had not given her a jade pendant, Tang Yin would have been handicapped for the rest of her life even if she was not dead from the attack just now. The last attack, Feng Ruqing closed her eyes. After a while, she opened her eyes and they were cold and distant. It's because, you nearly harmed Shao Yin just now. Tang Wu was injured badly after those 5 attacks. He was covered in blood and his clothes were torn now. Tang Luo was no better. His messy hair fell onto his shoulders and his fists were clenched tightly. He felt that there was no energy left in him. He could not even resist the attack when he was facing with that fierce lady. And, he could not resist. In fact, luckily all of them were dark warriors. Feng Ruqing's attack could harm them seriously but they would not be killed. This was the difference in the level of cultivation. But, she had the time. She had enough strength to cultivate so that she would be able to destroy the Tang family completely. Tang Yin opened her eyes and looked at Feng Ruqing in shock. Her eyes brightened. Her Shao Qing was so cool. It made her heart pound so uncontrollably fast. Thump, thump, Feng Ruqing walked toward Tang Luo. She raised her cold eyes and looked at the man in front of her, emotionlessly. Chapter 365, Feng Ruqing. 2. Tell me now. Who told you about my relationship with Nan Xian? Tang Luo inhaled helplessly. A disciple of the Tang family rescued a woman a few days ago. That woman seemed to be running away from the barracks. She's called Feng Ruqing and it's she who had told me. Feng Ruqing. Feng Ruqing's eyes darkened. Feng Ruqing was kept at the border of the kingdom for a few months. She should be staying there. Why did she run away? Did something happen there? Feng Ruqing was subconsciously rather nervous. She could not suppress this feeling and her facial expression turned sour. Where's Feng Ruqing? Feng Ruqing's eyes turned cold as she asked. Tang Luo turned and looked at the maid who had delivered the message just now. The maid kneeled on the floor out of fear. Master, Lady Rushwang's injuries have healed. So, she left the Tang family after telling me about that incident. Tang Shan went away with her too. Tang Shan. Feng Rooking's eyes narrowed. Isn't Tang Shan the one who went after Tang Zi that year? Didn't he want to kill Tang Zi then? It was he who had saved Feng Rushwang. A few months ago, Qin Chen wanted to rescue Feng Ruching at the Forest of Spirit Beasts when she was being taken away by Tiger Mama. If not, they would never have let Tang Shan got away. I never expected that he would be with Feng Rushwang now. Xiao Yin, we're heading back to Luyun Kingdom. Feng Ruching was rather anxious and nervous. Feng Ruching felt that there might be something wrong given that Feng Rushwang had run away. Luyun Kingdom might face some problems. Xiao Qing, let's go. Tang Yin was thinking about the Princess Manor now. There was excitement all over Tang Yin's face after knowing that they were going back to the Princess Manor. She smiled happily. Feng Rooking's heart was heavy like a stone was pressed onto it. She felt that there were some unfinished business in the Tang family. But, she knew that her father was waiting for her and she was rather anxious about that. She nodded slightly, then she turned and walked to the front yard. Feng Ruching did not see that someone was just descending from the mountain when Feng Ruching turned and walked away. That woman's face looked like Feng Rooking's, and even her sickness could not hide how beautiful she was. Her plain clothes moved with the wind. She seemed both graceful and elegant. Rong Yan looked at the girl's back. Suddenly, there was an explosion in her head. Her heart felt like it was being hit by a hammer. It was painful and her body shook vigorously. No. Don't go. Rong Yan was turned as pale as snow. She was anxious and nervous. She wanted to stop Feng Ruching from leaving. But, her body was too weak. She fell down as she took a step forward. Tang Luo mentioned that she could not meet Feng Ruching for fear that she might transmit her own diseases to Feng Ruching. But, she still decided to come and meet Feng Ruching. She just wanted to look at her from afar. She wanted to know why a name could make her heart grieve so much. Her heart was like being pricked by a needle when she saw Feng Rooking's silhouette, even if it was only from the back. There was endless pain and guilt in her. She wanted to make Feng Ruching stay. She wanted to give Feng Ruching all the most beautiful things in the world. Feng Ruching did not notice the person behind her. She held Tang Yin's hand and walked toward the lobby. No. Rong Yan wanted to make a sound desperately, but it seemed like her throat was being blocked by something. She could only make a sound so small, like the sound of an ant. It was shaky and hoarse. It did not make any difference to anybody. Don't go. I beg you. Don't go. Bring me along if you want to go. Chapter 366. Please turn and look at me. There were tears running down Rong Yan's cheek and a hint of deep sadness in her eyes. She wanted to rush forward desperately. She did not understand the situation. But, she knew that she wanted to stop Feng Ruching from leaving. But, the distance between her and Feng Ruching was just too far. She used up all her energy and still she could not stop Feng Ruching from leaving. Yenner. Suddenly, a gentle voice was heard. He hugged Rong Yan, who nearly fell down again. Rong Yan neither liked or hated Tang Luo before. But, a sense of hatred rose in her heart now. She used her hands to push Tang Luo away harshly. Let go. Let go of me. If you do not let go of me, my daughter will leave soon. She'll never come back. Yenner, you're sick again. Tang Luo frowned and sighed softly. Let me bring you back to rest. No. I'm not sick. There was a kind of madness in Rong Yan now. Her tears blurred her eyes. She reached her hand in the direction where Feng Ruching had just left. Tears kept streaming down her beautiful face. Don't go, Qinger, my daughter. Don't go, my daughter. Please turn and look at me. Just take a look at me, I'm right behind you. Tang Luo's eyes soon became cold and distant. Yenner, both of your son and daughter are dead. Rong Yan's body froze. Finally, she turned and looked at Tang Luo. What did you say? Tang Luo hugged Rong Yan's body tightly and he did not allow her to struggle or move. I didn't tell you that both of your son and daughter were killed by your husband. He killed his own children. I didn't tell you because I was afraid that you couldn't take it. Rong Yan was stunned. She pushed away Tang Luo desperately. No. She's my daughter. She is my daughter. Go away. I want to go, boom. Tang Luo raised his hand suddenly and hit Rong Yan at the back of her neck. Rong Yan's body weakened and she fell into Tang Luo's embrace weakly. There was a bottomless pit of sadness in Tang Luo's eyes. He held her up at the waist. The woman's hair fell and covered her beautiful but pale face. I'm sorry, Yenner. I have done wrong at first. I couldn't help but continue what I have started. I had no choice because I did not want you to leave. He would use up all his strength just to not let her leave no matter what. Feng Ruching subconsciously stopped walking. She turned around and her gaze fell on the mountain at the back of the manor. There was a woman in Tang Luo's embrace. That woman wore plain clothes and her hair was loose. Her face was hidden by Tang Luo and Feng Ruching could not see her face. What happened? Tang Yin looked at Feng Ruching surprisingly. Then, she looked in the direction where Feng Ruching had fixed her eyes on. She looked at Tang Luo and blinked. Tang Luo must be carrying the woman he kidnapped 10 years ago. That woman did not come down from the mountain for the past 10 years. Why did she come down today? Feng Ruching frowned slightly. Her hands were on her chest. Her heart beat so fast without reason. That's right. That woman seems to be mad. It looks as if she had lost a son and a daughter and she couldn't take it. I wanted to go and look at her once but I was caught by Tang Si. He punished me for that. So, I'm always curious as to what kind of woman could make Tang Luo that desperate. He even drove her mad. Was she really mad because of the loss of her son and daughter? That's what Tang Yu said. Tang Yin still felt that Tang Luo kidnapped that woman because of her beauty. He had even driven her mad. Chapter 367, Rong Yan's Madness. Her children are gone. Feng Ruching did not know why she wanted to know about that incident but she asked anyway. Tang Yin shook her head. I'm not sure about that too. But, Tang Luo said that she seems to be mad. So, nobody in the Tang family is allowed to go to that mountain. Rong Yan had come to the Tang family for 10 years now. Tang Yin had never even met her once. The elders in the Tang family did not allow Tang Yin to go to the mountain because of that. It was a loss when Tang Yin thought of that. Feng Ruching felt some kind of sadness in her heart. She lowered her eyes and there was a bitter smile on her face. She has lost her children and I have no mother. We're quite alike in that way. So, I can't lose my father too. Feng Ruching did not stay there for long. She turned away from Rong Yang and turned to walk toward the entrance of the Tang Manor. Her eyes seemed cold and distant when she turned and walked away. She would definitely take revenge on the Tang family for what they had done to Tang Zi. She would bring Tang Zi and walk into the Tang family just like they owned the place. They would get back at them for what the Tang family had done. There was a woman in white sitting cross-legged at the top of the mountain. The white phoenix beside her raised its head and looked at her from time to time. There was gentleness in its beautiful eyes. Suddenly, the white phoenix felt upset when it felt a presence nearby. It quickly got up and stared at that godlike body angrily. Sue also noticed something and opened her eyes. She smiled slightly and looked at Nan Xian. "Are you descending the mountain today?" Nan Xian nodded. "Yes, Qing'er is still waiting for me." "Then, quickly go now. Don't let her wait for you for too long." "All right." Nan Xian frowned slightly. He seemed to be using his calm voice subconsciously. "I need to leave Shinyun Mountain now because Qing'er is facing some troubles." Sue frowned slightly. "Trouble?" "The Tang family wants to attack Qing'er." His calm eyes fell on Sue. It was calm as usual. Sue's finger stroked at the white phoenix beside her. She seemed to be talking to herself. The Tang family. It seemed that the person who wanted to find a fiancé for Nan Xian also came from the Tang family. Now, the Tang family wanted to attack Nan Xian's woman. Nan Xian. Sue's facial expression was gentle. She was as beautiful as an angel. "Take this dudu and give it to her." Nan Xian's gaze fell on Sue's hand slowly. There was a red dudu on her palm. The red dudu lied on her palm quietly. "I made this by using the silk spun out by the spirit silkworms. I even asked the fire spirit wolf to roast it with its fire. Then, I immersed it in the holy water pond for half a month. It will protect her life in a dangerous situation. It will work for 3 times. Sue's eyes darkened when she talked about that dudu. Her eyes were cold. "I made this dudu that time. He wanted to take it to give to his lover. I did not let him, so I hid it and I never thought of taking it out for my whole life. But, I had no choice now." Nan Xian held out his hand and took the dudu away. He smiled slightly. "I'll thank you for Qing'er." Sue also smiled. "This thing is useless to me. It's worth it if I give it to her." Nan Xian said no more. He turned his gaze upon the white phoenix. The feathers of the white phoenix is so beautiful. Qing'er must be very happy if I pluck out its feathers to make clothes for her. Swoosh! The white phoenix was scared and it quickly got up. It hid behind Sue and glared at Nan Xian angrily. Chapter 368, Rongyan's Madness 2. Nan Xian had never praised it before. So, as soon as it heard Nan Xian words, it knew right off that he was a bastard who was up to no good. "Nan Xian, don't you always bully White Phoenix?" Sue smiled helplessly and said, "Or else, it's going to cry again." The White Phoenix kept nodding. "True, if Nan Xian dares to bully it again, it will cry for him to see." Nan Xian did not think much at first, but a light flashed in his calm eyes as soon as Sue finished her last sentence. "Cry? Why don't I collect more tears for Qing'er?" He had already emptied the White Phoenix's secret chamber of treasures. If he wanted to make it cry, the only way to do it was to go with the feather that it had always been proud of. Well, Nan Xian slightly cocked his eyebrows. "I can stop bullying it, but someone's bullying Qing'er, and I feel terrible about it." Sue frowned a little and turned to look at the White Phoenix. "Nan Xian's right, White Phoenix. The little girl is being bullied. You, as our family member, don't you want to offer something to protect that little girl?" The White Phoenix was so angry that it stomped the ground with its feet. Its treasure, all of its baby treasures, had been ransacked by Nan Xian. What else could it offer to help? However, Sue's last sentence had struck the White Phoenix's heart as every of its grudge had been swept off in a minute. Family member. Sue said that it was their family member. Did not that imply Sui had already accepted it as one of their family members? The white phoenix was so happy as its little pee-pee was erect. It poked around for half a day and finally, it took out a feather and handed it to Nan Xian. This is the most precious thing that you can get from me. If she lights up this feather, my doppelganger will show up right away. Even if I'm not capable of transforming into a human form now, it's not a problem for me to handle and deal with that so-called Tang family. Nan Xian seemed calm. It was obvious that he was not satisfied with the present. However, he understood that the white phoenix could not offer anything better anymore. He accepted the feather from the white phoenix and gently replied, "This feather is considered to be usable. At least when Qing'er wants to destroy the Tang family, she need not stain her hand. It's good to have you in helping her on the cleaning part." The white phoenix went numb and then it got angry. "Nan Xian, you look down on me. This is the most exquisite feather from our white phoenix clan as it can create a doppelganger of me. I've spent 20 years to get this one exquisite feather, do you know how much power it has?" "Okay." Nan Xian simply replied coldly even though the white phoenix was furious. The white phoenix did not want to say anything anymore as it felt that the situation was very unjust to him. Like mother like son. Both of them were the kind of people could not carry a conversation. "I'll go first." Nan Xian turned back and looked at Sui. "Take good care of yourself." Sui nodded. "Off you go." Nan Xian turned and looked away. That long snowy robe gradually faded away in those fluffy and mountain-like clouds. Blood was everywhere. In the blood-stained palace. The woman tightly gripped onto the quilt she was laying on the sandalwood bed. Her stunning face was pale and covered in tears. "Your Empress," the old granny standing next to her was so worried and said, "The assassin was inside the palace, but no one could fight against the assassin. His Majesty wishes to deal with the assassin on his own, but no worries. Your Empress, His Majesty is strong and talented, he will be fine. His Majesty will be back after your Empress has given birth to the baby." The girl tightened her grip on the quilt then. Her pretty eyes were not only filled with anxiety but more anger deeper inside. How could that bunch of people come here? How could they ignore the rules and break them? Chapter 369, Rongyan's Madness 3. She felt resentful and helpless about it. She felt helpless because she did not know why she was forced to give birth to a baby at such a crucial moment. She hated it, she hated those people who were there to hurt the person she loved. There was a throbbing pain in her stomach. That pain was strong enough to turn her pale. The bed sheets and comforters were already wet with her cold sweat, also, sticky enough. Your Majesty, it's over. The baby is a little princess. Congratulations, Empress. Oh, there's another one. A little prince. Bang! As soon as the old granny finished her words, a force surged up from Rongyan's neck, her mind went blank and then she passed out. The girl failed to notice what was happening as she was gently staring at both her babies. She kissed and caressed them in turn as her eyes seemed to look very reluctant to part with them. I'm sorry. Mother can no longer stay by your side in the future. I'm sorry. Mother cannot take care of you and watch you grow up. But your father, he will protect and take good care of you. Mother, will try everything I can to protect and keep you safe. Suddenly, her world blacked out. The lovely little figures were slowly fading from her eyes. She started to panic. She fought so hard to reach for their little hands that were stretching out to her, even just for one more time, only if she could touch or kiss them again. However, no matter how hard she tried, she still failed to reach for their little hands. All she could do was helplessly watch everything around her fade into darkness. No. In the cabin, Rong Yen was lying on the bed. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and felt great pain in her head, then she held her head tightly. Everything in the dream, what was happening exactly? Why did she feel like she had gone through all of these before? Who was she exactly? Where were her children? Yenner. Tang Luo, the person who was staying by Rong Yen all the time, he stretched out his hands as he wanted to hug her as soon as she awoke. She pushed him away before he could get close to her. Go away. I want to find Qinger, I want to find my Qinger. She could not remember anything, but when she saw Feng Ruking's eyes, she knew it. She knew that was her daughter. The daughter that she had waited and missed for many years. That surge of excitement and happiness that she got as soon as she saw her. That was what life about. A life where she had gone through 10 months of pregnancy and had finally given birth to that daughter. Yenner, you're getting sick again. Tang Luo did not get angry but sighed as he could do nothing. I'm not sick, I told you I don't have any disease. Rong Yen went completely mad. Her eyes were red with tears as she looked resentful, fierce, and annoyed. Yes, I was sick before, but that was because I'm sick of missing my children. I'm fully recovered now, she's my daughter and my love. I want to leave the Tang family. I want to look for her. Tang Luo frowned. The thing that he had always worried about was finally happening. He knew. He knew that it was not any good thing to let Feng reaching into Tang residence. That was why he tried all he could to not let Yenner bump into her. But he had never thought of Yenner, a woman who was always reluctant even to take a step to go out of the back hill, would leave the mountain and meet Feng reaching at that very moment. Yenner, are you starting to remember? He asked again, quite hesitant. Rong Yen sneered. I may not remember who I am, but it's enough that I remember who she is. Nobody can stop me from finding my daughter. It seems like you haven't fully recovered yet. Tang Luo smiled as he walked toward Rong Yen. What you saw was only her back. You didn't even get to see her from her front, how can you be sure that she's your daughter? I think you should take a good rest, they'll call the doctor and check on your condition again. Chapter 370, Why? I told you I'm not sick. Rong Yen was unusually agitated. She was so mad that she pulled out a sword from the headboard of the bed and placed the sword on her face. Tang Luo was shocked. Yenner, what are you doing? Rong Yen sneered and said, don't you and the Tangs think I'm not aware that all of you are talking behind my back and saying that I'm the Helen of Troy? The truth is, you are the one who doesn't want to let go of me. You guys have treated me such a way just because of my pretty face. I should disfigure myself so that I can be in peace for the rest of my life. She did not want much. All she hoped was to find her daughter and husband. And by doing that, she would feel felt as they could live healthily and peacefully for the rest of their lives. She was not ambitious too. All she hoped for was for her daughter to be by her side, her husband would only care for her, and wished the state to always be in peace. But why was everyone so harsh on her? She got this countenance from her parents, was that her fault? Why should she bear all of the sufferings? Why? The sword had already slashed her face. However, she acted as if nothing had happened as the blood was oozing out, she grinned. Yenner. Tang Luo frowned and said, put down the sword, quick. Rong Yan's face was dull. I want to leave the Tang family. There seemed to be a storm in Tang Luo's eyes. He had treated her so good, he was by her side for 10 years, and in the end, she still wanted to leave him. Yenner, I won't let you go. As usual, his face turned gentle and clear as jade again. I will never let you hurt yourself again. Just like a gust of wind, he was suddenly in front of Rong Yen and he gripped her arms so hard. Her arms were already weak. As he gripped her arms tighter, she lost all her strength as the long sword in her hands immediately fell to the ground. If it were 10 years ago, I was no match for you. But you are now weaker than before, also with a serious condition now, for sure you can't fight against me. He was afraid. He was afraid that Rong Yan would leave him when she recalled her past. So he had been poisoning Rong Yan's food all these years. The poison would not hurt her body, though, it was enough to weaken her day by day. All these years Rong Yan was silly and dumb enough as she was never aware that someone was poisoning her, especially when she did not use her spiritual power. It was lucky for him to have the foresight to poison Rong Yan. Or else, no one from the Tang family could even fight against her power then. He had never fallen for her ability but the person herself, Rong Yan, all this time. Rong Yan's eyes were cold. He had never seen that piercing cold expression before. Yener, I'm the one who loves you the most in this world. Tang Luo looked down. He was smiling as he stretched out his hand to hold Rong Yan to him. Nobody loves you more than I do. They will never love you more than I do in this world. Go away. Rong Yan roared and stretched out her hand to push Tang Luo away. She could not stand on her feet as she pulled herself away from his arms and almost fell. However, she was still reluctant to let Tang Luo get close to her, not even one step. Yener, I have tried not to harm you for years. Now, I will make you my woman and you will never be able to find him again for the rest of your life. His eyes were suddenly filled with hatred before they turned gentle again. His voice was as gentle and soft as water. He will not accept a fallen angel. No man can accept you except me. He could also ignore the fact that she had given birth to a baby. Only true love could be so tolerant. Therefore, no one in the world loved her more than him. Chapter 371, Why? Tang Luo stretched out his hand and pulled Rong Yan into his arms again. With a mighty force this time, he would never let her escape again. Rong Yan's body trembled heavily. Her heart was filled with deep anger and loath. It was like a volcano that would erupt any time. Yener, Tang Luo looked at the girl standing in front. He seemed to be beguiled, obsessed, and crazy. Rong Yan clenched her fists tightly as she closed her eyes. Another figure emerged in her mind then, wearing a king's robe. The guy was handsome, gentle, and sophisticated. That was the memory embedded deep in her head. It was a guy whom she had forgotten for 10 years. However, he was the guy whom she would always meet in her dream at night. Although he looked blurry in the dream or was covered with a thin layer of mist, she could not control her heartbeats whenever he appeared. That intense feeling for him was the reason why she did not believe in Tang Luo's words. A man whom she would still love even though she had lost her memory. How could he hurt her? He must be the best husband in the world. Rong Yan opened her eyes. She looked overbearing, just like before, as she was the king that everyone would respect in the world. No more silliness, dumbness, or gentleness could be seen in her eyes. Go away. Bang! Suddenly, a mighty force exploded from her body. That force was startling enough to force Tang Luo to retreat immediately. His eyes were wild with shock. Splat! Rong Yan spat a mouthful of blood. She looked pale. She could stand on her feet, but needed the wall support to steady herself as both of her legs could not stand straight anymore. Yener. Tang Luo finally came to his senses. I've told you, you're poisoned, you are weaker than before. But then you didn't care for your body and pushed me away using your power. You will hurt your body by doing so. The poison that he used would weaken her ability, but it was not harmful to her body. However, it was hard to say that the effects would remain the same if Yener was trying to do anything violent again, Rong Yen wiped away the blood from the corners of her lips and smirked. If you dare to touch me again, I'd rather us perish together. I will never let you taint me. Back then, she would rather die than to let the people from the Divine Herbs sect to touch her too. There was no difference now. Yenner, are you starting to recall your past? Tang Luo frowned and asked. Yes. She did not recall anything when she woke up from the evil dream that day. Not until when Tang Luo was coercing her. Then the vague countenance started to reveal itself slowly and become clearer. It was at that very moment when she retrieved all of the memories that she had forgotten before. Divine Herbs Sect. The Tang family. Rong Yen clenched her fists tightly. She wanted to make all of the people, who stopped her family from reuniting, die. But don't you remember how good I have treated you for these past 10 years? Good. Rong Yen sneered. You're good to me, so you intentionally poisoned me when I was badly wounded to make me lose my memory. You're good to me, so you imprisoned me for 10 years when I was silly and idiotic. You're good to me, so you stopped me from meeting my daughter and even coerced me. She remembered everything. And she remembered how the Tang family had treated her for the past 10 years. Why was she reluctant to receive help from the little servant? Because she was not sober and ignorant enough that even a little servant would dare to bully and insult her. She was a person that would revolt, even though she was not as strong as before. She would still beat the little servant black and blue. For that reason, Tang Luo always thought that she would never let anyone step into the back hill when she would beat the innocent little servant who allowed someone to go there. Chapter 372, Why? 3. She did not allow the doctor to check her condition, because it was the doctor who had pricked her with needles even when she was healthy, never wanting to let go of her. She was afraid, loathful, and sick of dealing with them. So she hit the doctors. That was the reason why Tang Luo thought that she would rather stay ill than seek help from the doctors. And Tang Yu, the girl who was the same age as Rong Yan's daughter, but a villainous and evil person. When Rong Tan was still dumb and missed her daughter so much, she pretended to be gentle as a strategy to trick her of her many spirit herbs. And she would turn against her after she got the spirit herbs from her. However, there was always some time when she was sober, no matter how dumb she was. Tang Yu had no chance to cheat her of her spirit herbs when she was sober, but then, she would provoke and remind her using her daughter's tail as a revenge for not giving her spirit herbs. However, although a lot of spirit herbs were cheated from her by Tang Yu, all the spirit herbs that were above grade 5 were firmly secured in her hand all the time. Because she had always understood well that, things that she kept for Qing'er must never fall into anyone else's hand. No one. Yenner, I admit that I have failed you since the very beginning, but I have used 10 years to make up to you. Our whole Tang family is making up to you, isn't that enough? Tang Luo looked at Rong Yen as his heart ached. Rong Yen smiled coldly and stood up. Tang Jia is making up to me. The little servant girl who bullied her, the injuries from the doctors, Tang Ye's cheating, these were all making up to me. Tang Luo's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Was there anything else that had happened in the past 10 years that he did not know? Rong Yen sneered. I can tell you why on earth you are inferior to him. When we got married, we were not strong enough, but we promised to support each other for the rest of our lives. Her voice turned from cold to gentle now. But there were so many women who wanted to marry him, also countless people who coerced him to take a concubine. He turned all of them down despite being under all the pressures. It was I who had persuaded him to take one of the concubines, only if he never pampers the girl, that's all I wanted. She had met all the women before they entered the palace. Also, she told them about Feng Tianyu's decision. They could live in the palace but were condemned to live a life of widowhood till the end. She could let them go if they did not want to. However, if they insisted on staying, they had no choice but to follow. If anyone dared to seduce Feng Tianyu, she would not sit back and let go of any of their mistakes. It would not matter if it was that woman herself or her family, because the rest of their lives were doomed to be restless. She was ruthless because she did not allow her husband to sleep with other concubines. Also, she had given the women a chance to leave or stay from the very beginning. However, there were still women who wanted to enter the palace, so they could not blame her for being cruel. For this reason, Rong Yan's face turned even gentler as she was reminiscing the past. I have stirred up troubles with so many people, and they forced my husband to abandon me. But then, again, he survived through all the pressures and would never let anyone hurt me. And you? So many people did so many harmful things to me, they just did them right before your eyes, but do you even know that? Maybe it's because you're too arrogant, or you don't really love me that much, so you provided them with a chance to hurt me. But Feng Tianyu would never do that. She had never even suffered a single injury when he was beside her. He had always been keeping her safe and sound all the time. So in return, she was willing to defend the country for him. That's not what you think. Tang Luo finally panicked. He grabbed Rong Yan's shoulder and said, I love you so much, I really do. I just don't know what had happened. Yenner, please, believe me, I would never let go of anyone who had hurt you before, never. Chapter 373, Rong Yan's wounds. The corners of Rong Yan's lips lifted, and her smile became more and more scornful. She did not like the people who cry out and say they wanted to avenge her only after all the sufferings had ended. She only liked men like Feng Tianyu, that kind of man who would never let her get hurt in the first place. Tang Luo could not help but get mad when he saw Rong Yan's eyes. Yenner, Feng Ruqing has a half-sister. That man had betrayed you long ago. I am the only one who will not betray you. Oh, Rong Yan seemed calm. So what? Tang Luo was stunned and in disbelief. You still want to forgive him despite it? Rong Yan smiled and looked at Tang Luo. I trust him. He will never do that. She wanted them to stop talking about her trust toward Feng Tianyu. Back then, she already found out that someone had poisoned him before she left. It was a kind of poison that would make it impossible for Feng Tianyu to have an affair with any other woman in the bed. Or else he would die immediately. But Feng Tianyu had been well alive since then, which implied that he had never pampered or got close with that concubine. Back then, she was the one who had secretly helped to stop the poison from invading Feng Tianyu. In doing so, her body weakened. She could not fully recover even though she was going to deliver a baby, and that was why it provided an opportunity for the people to attack her. Even if the poison was halted, it was still impossible for him to sleep with anyone. Therefore, every time Feng Tianyu wanted to go wild with her in bed, she would use the pregnancy as an excuse to turn him down. Therefore, it remained unknown where did the girl come from. Tang Luo's eyes were red and asked angrily. You trust him that much? He had betrayed you. How could you still trust him? Why? Yenner, do you really love that man? He's a man from the secular world. Is he worthy of your love? I come from the so-called secular world, and our power matched too. Why can't I be your man? Yenner, I will never let go of you. I'll never do that in my life. Tang Luo grabbed Rong Yan's wrist tightly and shook her violently. This woman gave her 10 years of happiness, but to abandon him now, how could she be so cruel? Just because of that little servant and the doctor who had done bad things to her. He did not take any action in the first place because he was ignorant. When he knew, he would definitely not let go of those people. Was that not enough to prove his love toward her? What the hell does she want him to do to prove his love? Bang! Suddenly, a spirit force came inside the cabin and crashed on Rong Yan's chest violently. Roan Yan's body had been initially weak. Chapter 374, Roan Yan's wounds. Tang Luo remained silent. She only wants her husband and children back. Once you set her free, she will take an opportunity to leave unless you keep an eye on her day and night. Don't tell me that you have poisoned her and made her lose her memories. Don't you see that she has got her memory back now? What if she gets her power back too? Who else can stop her? Tang Yu looked malevolent. What a cheap woman Roan Yan, how could she have regained her memory? She could not let her go, or else she would lose her position as the lady of Fengyun Manor. She would not have had any attachment to the position if she had never owned it before. Since she had gotten the taste of the power of being a lady of the house, she never wanted to lose it again. After all, everyone from Fengyun Manor had already assumed that Roan Yan was already dead. She could make it real too. Tang Ye's eyes flashed with the intention of murdering her before Tang Luo could notice. Everything was fine when Roan Yan had no past memories at first. If someone was to blame, all they could blame was Roan Yan, who found her memory back, but not Tang Yu. She would not let anyone take away what was already in her hand. Tang Luo started to panic because Roan Yan was too strong. She was strong enough to make him afraid. So, he could not bear any chances of letting her restore her ability. Yener, I'm sorry, I would not have wanted to do so. Tang Luo closed his eyes in agony and opened them after a while. It's all right if you don't want to be my woman. We will just by each other's sides, and that's already enough. He did not ask for much. All he wanted was for Roan Yan to be with him for the rest of his life. Tang Yu sneered. She gradually took out a little purple flower. Feed her this. This will not only take away all of her spiritual power but also it will make her lose her spiritual power completely. Also, it will make her unable to move and speak. Tang Luo's eyes turned wild with shock. It could also make her unable to speak. Purplewood flower, you should have heard of it before. Purplewood flower, isn't that a grade 5 spirit herb? How could Tang Yu have grade 5 spirit herbs in her hands? Roan Yan looked at the spirit herbs in Tang Ye's hand, her body went stiff as she clenched her fists tightly. No, that's not purplewood flower. It's purple kite flower. Purplewood flower and purple kite flower. It was hard to distinguish them as they looked very similar. However, one of the flowers was a grade 5 spirit herb, while the other one was a grade 6 spirit herb. Their pharmaceutic effects were different too. However, both of the flowers were toxic. The former one had the effects just like what had Tang Yu mentioned. However, the latter one not only consists of the same effect as the former one but also, it would dehydrate a person day by day until the body became a dry corpse. As for how she knew it so well, it was because the purple kite flower originally belonged to her. She had put it in Fengyun Manor's treasury vault, how could it end up in Tang Ye's hands? Roan Yan suddenly panicked, she seemed to remember that there was a time when she had accidentally taken out Fengyun Manor's token. However, she had forgotten to keep it back. Did she hide it under the quilt? As soon as Roan Yan thought of this, she quickly staggered to the wooden bed and unfolded the quilt right away. However, the bed was empty, nothing could be found. Fengyun Manor's token was gone. Roan Yan stared at Tang Yu angrily. Her body was shaking, her beautiful eyes burned with a flame. Tang Yu was not afraid of her as the corners of her lips lifted coldly. Father, what I hold in my hand is purplewood flower. It's already not easy for me to get grade 5 spirit herbs, do you think I'm capable of finding and getting grade 6 spirit herbs? It's only because she's afraid, so she reacted like that on purpose so that she can stop you from feeding her the medicine. Chapter 375, Roan Yan's wounds. Tang Luo could not become the master of the Tang family if he were foolish. However, he could not think rationally as his heart had gone mad. He was too afraid that Rong Yen would leave him. He would do anything to make her stay. Good. Even if Rong Yen could detox herself from the poison that he had given to her years ago, it must be impossible for her to detox herself from the violet wood bloom's poison. Father, I know you cannot stand to do it. Why don't you let me help you? Tang Yut smiled and said, You may leave first. Tang Luo's eyes sank in pain. The violet wood bloom was too poisonous. He really could not stand seeing her taking that poison. So, he did not say anything as he looked at Rong Yen guiltily. Then, he turned and walked out, leaving only Rong Yen and Tang Yu in the room. Aunt Rong. Tang Yu gently smiled and walked toward Rong Yen. I can see that you cannot even stand on your feet. Stop fighting. Do you think that useless people like you can be my opponent? You just pushed my father away, and I guess you've used up all your power so you can do nothing to me now. It was apparent that Tang Yu had returned for quite a while and heard many of their conversations. Oh, speaking of which, I am the lady of Fengyun Manor right now. Don't worry, I will inform the people of Fengyun Manor that it was your own daughter who had poisoned you. Tang Yu smirked. My words, the people in Fengyun Manor will. Rong Yan's eyes were cold. They will not believe you. I will make them believe. Tang Yu pursed her little lips haughtily. The bunch of fools in Fengyun Manor, they are very easy to trick. It's such a waste if I don't make use of them. Oh, by the way, I have to tell you that your taste in names is really terrible. Fengqin Court. What a disgusting name to hear, so I have changed it into Fengyu Court. Well, that is the court that you had prepared for me, so for sure, it has to be named after me. Rong Yen clenched her fists tightly. Her breath was starting to turn erratic too. Aunt Rong, thank you. Thank you for putting in such an effort into building Fengyun Manor and all the power and status that come together for me, also a Fengyu Court for me too. I can't thank you enough for that. From now on, I will never tell anyone from the Tang family that you were sponging our Tang family too. Oh, by the way, throughout these 10 years, I have lied to father that because you're not in good condition, you need something throughout these 10 years. I told him that you need the spirit herbs as a medication. So, he was very assured to entrust me with the spirit herbs and serve you. Well, the truth is, I have eaten all the spirit herbs. Then, I told everyone in the Tang family that father was pampering you by serving you with spirit herbs every day. Therefore, everyone from the Tang family hates you very much as none of them wants you to be alive. To keep a freeloader in our family, what's the point? Although the spirit herbs were not as precious as the one that she had cheated from Rong Yen, still, even a little ant has its own meat too. It was natural for her to benefit from eating more spirit herbs. And Rong Yen was doomed to hold the bag for her. Well, Rong Yen deserved this because she did not want to hand over the storage bag to her. Rong Yen gritted her teeth, and resolutely refused to swallow the violet milvus bloom. Tang Yes seemed wicked and tried to force the violet milvus bloom into her mouth. Her gums were bleeding. Tang Yu had poked them with her nails. The sap of the violet milvus bloom had filled her mouth and gotten to her wounds, immediately invading her body through her wounds. Tang Luo was still worried, so he came back immediately after he had left. He pushed open the door, and he saw Tang Yu holding Rong Yan's body. Tang Yu cried out sadly, Aunt Rong, I really like you, am afraid that you would leave, so I have no choice but to feed you the violet wood bloom. Please don't blame me. I really don't want to part with you. Chapter 376, A Hero Can Shed No Tears, Only Blood. Tang Luo saw Tang Yes' painful expression and relented. His daughter liked Yenner, just like him. It was Yue who had accompanied Yenner when he had no time to be by her side throughout all these years. So, how could Yue want to bully Yenner? In fact, she loved her so much. Or else. Yuer could just refuse to accept Yenner, but why did she try everything she could to make her stay? It seemed that Yenner had misunderstood because Yuer was not treating her in the way wanted, just like how Yenner misunderstood him as well. Yuer, it's all right. Tang Luo went up to Tang Yu and patted her on her shoulder. Father knows that you are too fond of her, but you have no choice to come up with this idea. I feel you. Just like what you worry about, I was afraid that she would leave too. Rong Yen seemed to be lost in her own mind as she looked on blankly. Just like a soulless person, her eyes were blank. Tang Yu looked down as she grinned. She did not want to take away Rong Yan's life immediately because she was afraid that father would find out that she was up to something. So, she decided to use Violet Milvis Bloom and let the time slowly take her away. Yenner. Tang Luo walked up to Rong Yen painfully as his eyes were filled with guilt. One day, you will know who's the one who loves you the most in the world. He did not get any reply from her even though he waited for a long time. It was because the woman before him was unable to open her mouth and speak anymore. He finally sighed and gradually stood up. Yuer, take good care of her for now. Okay. Tang Yu, with tears in her eyes, nodded. As she saw Tang Luo walk out of the cabin, something cold flashed in Tang Ye's eyes as she hurried out. Father. Tang Ye's voice made him stop as he was just about to walk out of the cabin. Tang Luo looked back at her and asked, Yuer, is there anything else? Father, Tang Ye's eyes seemed malicious. She has remembered everything now. We can only let her stay with us forever by killing her relatives. No. Tang Luo's face had suddenly changed. Never lay a finger upon them. Tang Yu seemed surprised and asked, why? Why not? Tell me a reason, father. Tang Luo's lips seemed to reflect a sense of bitterness. Tang Yu thought he was willing to tolerate. He could let go of her past, but still, Feng Ruqing was her daughter. The presence of this woman was like a thorn in his heart. A thorn that would always remind him of a man who had all the happy times with her before. Also, to make her give birth to a child for him willingly. He was not some kind of generous or tolerant person. He was only generous to Rong Yen but not other people. He could not make himself ignore and pretend to see nothing of it. However, Feng Ruqing was Nan Xian's woman. He wished he could never see Feng Ruqing in his life again, but what could he do with her? Yuer, stop involving yourself in this matter again. We, the Tang family, is a reclusive family. Back then, we have set the rules that people from the reclusive world will never interfere with the secular world. This is a rule that even the Divine Herbs sect would never dare to violate. Tang Luo sighed. Many years ago, there were not so many rules in Songyu mainland. Those who were not strong enough were doomed to die. But just a few decades ago, a strong man came out of nowhere and forced the reclusive world to sign the agreements with the secular world that had been oppressed for countless years. As a condition, he must remain in that place for the rest of his life, as he was never allowed to return to the secular world anymore. Tang Yu tried to conceal her wickedness. Father, I understand. Lu Yunxiao put a hand on his back and stood high in the air. His old cowardly pale face had changed into a condescending smiling face. Just like a dominant superior in his high position, he looked down at the group of struggling ants one below. Nalan Hu, stop your useless fight back. Today, I have brought along 10 spirit warriors. You are no longer my opponent anymore. Back then, he was the one where Nalan Hu had stomped on. Whenever he saw General Nalan and his people, all he could do was hide in the shell like a tortoise. He could not be any more inferior. But now, the inferior one had already been replaced by Nalan Hu. What an unprecedented pleasure. He could not help but burst out laughing as if he wanted to vent out all of his frustrations and humiliations that he had been bearing for decades. Nalan, who was angry and pale. He quickly escaped from the long sword held by the people in front of him. His old face was pale as his eyes scintillated anger. Lu Yunxiao, as a courtier of Lu Yun Kingdom, how dare you to team up with other strong countries and enemies to invade our Lu Yun Kingdom? Except for Long Ao Kingdom, which had been destroyed, all the other strong ones had gathered up here. Chapter 378. A hero can shed no tears, only blood. 3. No matter how strong Lu Yun Kingdom was, it was impossible to fight against the siege of 4 nations. Also, there were already 5 people who had reached the advanced spirit warrior tier among the spirit warriors. Lu Yun Kingdom without Nalan Yen is a kingdom that cannot withstand even a single blow. An old man dressed in purple sneered at the sky and punched Nalan Hu's chest. Nalan, who could only defend the attack from behind. He was unable to avoid any other attack, so the punch had immediately made him spit blood. His old body was forced to take several steps backward. Master Qin's eyes were red as he growled anxiously, "Old General." Master Nalan crawled up from the ground. He stood with his back straight, and his eyes looked fierce. No one could defy him. Lu Yunxiao, even if I, Nalan Hu, were to be buried in this imperial city today, the Nalan family's blood and allegiance would never be defeated. The border was in danger in the past 2 days. Zhang Qian and Jing'er were sent to the frontier. It was lucky for them not to be in the imperial city at that time. He hoped that the 2 boys would not return as the news spread outside the palace. If the Nalan family's blood still existed, their soul of loyalty would never be defeated. For those who stepped into the land of Lu Yun Kingdom, one day they would pay the price. Lu Yunxiao laughed. Nalan who do you think it was who had made up the frontier crisis? What awaits them at the border is hell. You, the Nalan family, are doomed to be history. At first, after Lu Yunxiao spoke, he thought that Nalan Hu would be in deep grief and rather die than to live. But the old man's face was very calm since the beginning. It was so calm that his face barely moved. You are wrong. The disciples and followers of the Nalan family are all over the world. Even if Jing'er, Chang Qian and I are dead, there will still be someone to stand up against you. For the people of the Nalan family, you can never finish killing us no matter how hard you try, ha ha ha. Nalan Hu burst into a wild, arrogant laugh. The smile was just as powerful as his unyielding spirit, a spirit which could astound anyone. One day, they will take over my place to defend and protect our country and frontiers. His eyes were burning with wild flame and murderous spirit, and he grinned as he was looking at Lu Yunxiao condescendingly. If you're afraid, get on your knees and kowtow to seek forgiveness from the innocent people you've killed. You kneel until the world forgives you. What a damned bastard to ally with the foreign enemy and kill the defending soldiers. Even those normal people who were waiting to enter the city did not stand a chance to escape from the killing talon as well. How innocent were those people? Crying hysterically and despairingly, a woman held a girl's corpse in her arms. Lu Yunxiao suddenly lifted his hand and clasped the woman to him. He tightly grasped the woman's neck with his fingers and looked at Nalan Hu with a cold smile. If you love all of this rubbish so much, kneel before me right now. Otherwise, I will slaughter the whole city and use the blood from all of the people to worship my wrath. Nalan Hu's old eyes were red. He turned purple with rage and said, Lu Yunxiao, I'm the one whom you've always hated. They are just ordinary people without any strength or weapons. What's the difference between you and a beast by doing so? Swoosh. With a strong grip, Lu Yunxiao broke the woman's neck. He flung the woman's corpse to the ground and sneered. In this mainland, the fittest survive, and the ordinary ones, how could they have the right to live and waste the food? All the people from Lu Yun Kingdom had gone completely mad by looking at Lu Yongxiu's cruel behavior. The people of the iron-blooded army clutched on their weapons tightly as their eyes burned with anger. Chapter 379. A hero can shed no tears, only blood. For Lu Yunxiao grabbed another crying little boy and looked at Nalan Hu coldly. Nalan Hu, to your knees, now. Nalan Hu had no chance of winning him as he had united with several strong nations. What he wanted was not only the Nalan family's life. He also wanted to humiliate Nalan Hu in every possible way before he died. Nalan Hu's eyes were burning with rage. However, Lu Yunxiao gave him no chance to think. He stabbed through the little boy's chest with a sword. The little boy was only around 3 years old. His parents had just been slaughtered, and he was left alone in the world. However, he had already lost his life at the age where he had only started to understand and discover the world. His eyes were round and wide. He looked terrified and reluctant to die as there were tears in his eyes, but then, he could not stand up and live anymore. Nalan Hu felt as if his heart was pierced through by needles. It was really, really painful. He loved the people and treated them like his own children. Even though he had been on the battlefields for so many years, or helped to expand the kingdom's power, he had never hurt a single ordinary man in any country. As the general of a nation, his duty was to protect these ordinary people. But, all he could do was to watch these people collapse before his eyes. He could do nothing. Lu Yun Kingdom's people were enraged. As the battle turned more violent, their eyes became even redder as if there was a wave of deep anger that had nowhere to go. At the same time, Lu Yunxiao dragged another middle-aged man. Nalan Hu stopped all the fighting. His eyes landed on the person Lu Yunxiao was holding. He was expressionless. What you wish for is to humiliate me, isn't it? I will do as you wish, but please, let go of all these ordinary folk. Lu Yunxiao smiled coldly and said, I will let them leave the imperial city if you kneel down to me. I won't kill them if they never return. How's the deal? Okay. Nalan Hu's voice quivered, but his eyes were as resolute as steel. Old General. Everyone was frightened. They looked at Nalan Hu anxiously. You can't do that. Nalan Hu was someone who cared about his dignity very much. If he really did that, he would suffer for the rest of his life. Even if he survived, he would be living in hell. Nalan Hu slowly closed his eyes. After a while, he slowly opened his eyes and gradually went down on his knees. Old General. Qin Fiang's old face was filled with sadness. You can't do as he wishes, you can't do that. Nalan Hu's ears could not hear any sound anymore. He knew it well, for no doubt, he would die on that day. If that was the case, what was the harm to save a person by tarnishing his dignity? Just as Nalan Hu's knees were about to land on the ground, the middle-aged man grabbed the sword from Lu Yongxiu's hand by his surprise, and the middle-aged man plunged it through his own chest. Nalan Hu's body went stiff. Blood splattered and splashed onto Nalan Hu's face. His body froze as he could only stare at the man falling to the ground. Lu Yunxiao was shocked. He had never thought that the man would be doing this. He could not come to his senses for quite a while. Old General, the man lay his face flat on the ground as the blood covered the whole ground in red. You are a hero. My wife and daughter got killed by him just now. I don't want to survive in disgrace and let a hero lose his dignity. Lu Yun Kingdom had been peaceful for decades because of the Nalan family. Everyone from the Nalan family was a hero. A hero can shed no tears but only blood. Nalan Hu's old face was covered in tears. He struck out a violent gust of wind with the long sword in his hand, and suddenly, the gust had reached Lu Yunxiao. You Lu family bastard, I want you to die. Chapter 380. When the kingdom is under attack, stand up and fight back. Lu Yunxio's face suddenly darkened. Nalan Hu, how dare you to disobey my command? Don't forget that I have still plenty of hostages in my hand. Do you want all of this rubbish to die? Perhaps that man had somehow encouraged all the people to fight back when he started to fight back. The people, whom Lu Yunxiao regarded as rubbish, seemed to have forgotten to cry and wail at the moment. They crawled up from the ground as their eyes were filled with anger and determination. They knew what was going on even if they were just ordinary people. How could the egg stay unbroken when the nest is overturned? If Luyun Kingdom was destroyed, how would there still be a place for them to stay? Besides, the old general was a hero. They could not bear to let the hero be humiliated, or to make him lose his hope. Lu Yunxiao turned back and took a glance. He was shocked again to see all the ordinary people rushing toward the army of 4 countries. They were all ordinary people with no weapons in their hands. They could not even endure an attack under the power of the army of 4 countries. Why? How could they be so brave? Did they not want to live? Lu Yunxiao could never fathom this. Human nature should be selfish in his eyes. The humans are creatures that like to bully the weak but are afraid of the stronger ones. Humans are scared of death and would do anything to survive. There should not be a human who would still rush forward without any hesitation when they knew well that the way ahead was a dead end. Nalan Hu's eyes were teary and filled with anger. A mighty gust blew around him. Just like a hurricane, his sword roared and rushed forward violently. When Lu Yunxiao came to his senses, he met that anger eyes and quickly used his sword to defend the gust. Clang! That brutal force shook and made his arms go numb. He took a few steps back and looked at a spirit warrior beside him and said, "General Ling, help me to deal with this old thing." Ling Yu nodded, and then he was in front of Nalan Hu. "Old General Nalan, you look just fine." Ling Yu, the general of Ziyun Kingdom, had met and fought with Nalan Hu a couple of times before. After all, they were old friends. So he thought that Nalan Hu would respond to him no matter what had happened. But Nalan Hu had broken into his vision without saying another word. Ling Yu slightly frowned and smiled. "You have the same old temper, my hot-tempered pal. I would really admire you if we let go of all the political connections and hatred. However, I'm the general of Ziyun Kingdom, and you're the general of Luyun Kingdom. We are destined to be enemies forever." The long sword of a spirit warrior slashed Tang Zi's silky hair and cut it. Her face was cold without any expression on it. But the anger inside her heart was obvious and noticeable. The Empress of Luyun Kingdom, Nalan Yen, she was just like the mother of the world as everyone was her son and daughter. When the Prince of Long Ao Kingdom was arbitrarily killing the people of Luyun Kingdom, she would bring her people and attack Long Ao Kingdom. She had forced that prince into death. But now, scores of people were being killed in the imperial city of Luyun Kingdom. How painful it would be for the Empress to know what had happened in the kingdom. Tang Zi's body was trembling. Because she knew that the Empress could not bear anyone killing the people in Luyun Kingdom. "You forgot the Empress' words." Tang Zi held a long sword in her hands. She was brave and mighty in her spirits. She said that she would kill 100 people if anyone dares to touch a people of Luyun Kingdom. She will destroy the country if anyone dares to touch 100 people of Luyun Kingdom. She sneered. Her cold eyes were filled with pride. "Don't you think you can do anything you want even if the Empress is not here? Is the doom of Long Ao Kingdom not enough of a warning to you?" She was with the 3-striped tiger when she invaded Long Ao Kingdom that day. However, the news had not spread yet. They thought only the masters of Luyun Kingdom went forward to destroy Long Ao Kingdom as they did not know the existence of the Tier 5 spirit beasts. Chapter 381. When the kingdom is under attack, stand up and fight back too, otherwise, the troops from the four kingdoms would not be so daring. Tang Zi had tasked someone to inform the three-striped tiger. It was a pity that the three-striped tiger was still at the forest of spirit beasts, far away from the city. She needed more time. Tang Zi, if you are willing to surrender, you could be the general of Tianxian Kingdom. An old man with an iron bomb lowered his eyes and glanced at Tang Zi. I follow no one but Her Highness. I will always stand guard over Her Highness and never betray her for the rest of my life. Tang Zi sneered. Don't cross the line. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless. A glimpse of viciousness flashed through the old man's eyes. In a flash, an overwhelming aura rushed toward Tang Zi. Originally, Tang Zi could barely handle a spirit warrior. With this old man joining the attack, they were far beyond her. Nevertheless, she did not take a step back. She stood rooted to the spot as she wanted to protect the Luyun kingdom that was behind her. As Tang Zi could not handle them, the sword of the old man pierced through her left shoulder. In an instant, blood oozed from the wound, stained her robe red. Roar! A loud roar sounded from behind. Tang Zi turned around only to see that all the spirit beasts from the princess manor were rushing up to her. Qingling and Lu Li were rushing after the spirit beasts. That was not all. All the nobles and officials in the imperial city who knew about the raid, young and old, were rushing her way together with the troops. Why you all are here? Stay away. Stunned, Tang Zi knitted her brows together. It was fine for the snow wolf to be here as he was a tier 4 spirit beast. The rest of them, without attaining spirit warrior tier, was no doubt seeking their own demise. Squad leader Tang Zi, because of Her Highness, we have been taking plenty of herbal dishes. Moreover, the spirit beasts have always been helping us in the cultivation. Even though our strength is still weak, but, Lu Li pursed her lips together. This is something to do with our kingdom. No matter how weak we are, we will not sit back and do nothing. Lu paused for a while and continued. This was the matter of the rise and fall of the kingdom. All the civilians of Luyun Kingdom must stand up to defend their kingdom. Even if their strength was no match for the opponent, they must fight. The same went for the rest. Even though they could feel the overwhelming aura of the spirit warriors, they would never step back. At this very moment, a strange feeling seized Tang Zi's heart and she could not say a word. Besides the officials and nobles, she could see the civilians, who had not attained any warrior tier, from the tender age of 10 to 60 years of age. Howl! The snow wolf howled furiously before pouncing on the old man who attacked Tang Zi. The snow wolf was taking a nap on the mountain behind the manor. He had never thought that the imperial city would sink into chaos when he woke up. You bastard! Don't you dare to hurt my master's subordinate. If I could let this slide, I don't deserve the divine spirit fruit from my master. The old man's face slightly darkened. He took a few steps backward to catch his balance, his sword blocked the snow wolf's sharp fangs. Clang! The snow wolf bit into the sword and broke it into pieces in a flash. The sword was crispy but tasteless. Tang Zi quickly regained her focus. She knew that all of them would not leave even if she forced them. In the Chancellor's manner. Yu Chen, you must not go. Stay back. Lady Lu clung onto Lu Yuchen's thigh as she cried out loud. Chapter 382, When the Kingdom is Under Attack, Stand Up and Fight Back 3. Mother, Luyun Kingdom, is falling apart. Lu Yuchen's body stiffened. He paused as he talked to the lady behind his back. His eyes were filled with sorrow. This time was different from the incident in the palace. Back then, the people of Long Ao Kingdom only wanted to challenge the Nalan family. Even if they usurped the throne, they would never devastate Luyun Kingdom. This time, the four kingdoms were working together in an attempt to wipe out Luyun Kingdom. Could the eggs remain unbroken when the nest was completely overturned? Rumor had it that the people of the four kingdoms had massacred and slaughtered civilians of Luyun Kingdom. Even if Lu Yuchen was such a coward, like Chancellor Lu, he knew it well that if the four kingdoms took over Luyun Kingdom, simply no one could survive. Everyone had rushed to Tang Zi's rescue to defend their homeland. Even the lady of the Mu family, Mu Qing'er, had rushed to the city's gate. Should Lu Yuchen even call himself a man to hide at his own manor now? No. Yuchen, you must not go. Let them fight for us. If they all die, you can't turn the whole situation around with your own strength. I can't live without you. Let's pack up and leave here. Lady Lu cried her heart out and held on to Lu Yuchen's thigh tightly. These people from the four kingdoms have surrounded the whole imperial city. Do you still think we could escape from the city? When they have successfully attacked the city, we would all die. They are truly ruthless and they will not let go of any of us. Lu Yuchen smiled wryly. You must not go. Let them fight for us. As the members of the Lu family are civil officials, naturally, we are not meant for battling. Let them make the frontal attack. You must not go. Lady Lu screamed sharply, her face was contorted in anxiety. Mother, Lu Yuchen's body stiffened even more. I have said. You are not allowed to go. If you dare to step out of this manor, I will take my own life. Lady Lu loosened her grip on Lu Yuchen's thigh, took out a dagger, and placed it near her neck. Mother, I know you are afraid of death. Startled, Lu Yuchen stared at Lady Lu for a long while before he said. One would never dare take her own life if she was afraid of dying. Lu Yuchen had always been filial and obedient. But this time, he wanted to follow his heart. Lu Yuchen turned to leave the manor. However, before he stepped out of the manor, an aura rushed up to him and hit him on his back. He fell forward, hitting his head on the ground. He could vaguely see a solemn face before he lost his consciousness. Yuchen, even if you want to die, don't put the whole Lu family in trouble. If the four kingdoms wiped out Luyun Kingdom, we can still surrender. With the strong foothold of the Lu family in this realm, the four kingdoms would naturally accept us. On the contrary, if you get into the battle and offended the four kingdoms, we are finished. He must never let Lu Yuchen put the Lu family into trouble. What was so wrong remaining alive? Why must Lu Yuchen seek his own demise? Everyone must learn to protect themselves in times of trouble. Fighting for the kingdom was total nonsense. If Luyun Kingdom fell apart, the Lu family could go to another kingdom for shelter. Chancellor Liu's words echoed in Lu Yuchen's ears before his vision turned dark. His eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. Lady, take him away to get some rest. He is such an idiot. He does not even know what he should and shouldn't do. He is digging his own grave, Chancellor Lu said as he frowned. There were too many idiots in this world. Chapter 383, When the kingdom is under attack, stand up and fight back. For at the same time, everyone gathered at Paramount. The atmosphere was full of sorrow. You haven't reached the young master yet. Half a month ago, something had happened in the clan and the 9th young master had gone back to the clan together with some masters. No one had ever seen him since. However, they could hardly reach the young master on normal days. They had gotten used to it. This time, the four kingdoms had worked together to attack Luyun Kingdom. They wanted to know what was on the young master's mind and were waiting for his command. Should we help them? Paramount does not belong to Luyun Kingdom. By right, we need not help. However, the young master truly cares for Her Highness Feng Ruqing. If we sit back and do nothing, we might offend the young master. The young man furrowed his brows with a nagging feeling in his heart. As the headquarters of Paramount was not located in Luyun Kingdom, there were not many masters here. The only dark warrior had left with the young master, and there were only 2 to 3 spirit warriors left in Paramount of Luyun Kingdom. They truly had no idea if they were capable of helping Luyun Kingdom. Most importantly, they wanted to know the young master's decision. If the young master decided to help, these spirit warriors would not hesitate to risk their lives for the kingdom. His brows knitted together, and one of them was raised. The young master seems to like Her Highness Feng Ruching very much. If he knows that we didn't help her, he would explode with rage. Feng Lan, why don't you get into the palace? I heard that someone has sneaked into the palace. Zhao Shi and I will rush to the city's gate. Feng Lan was the only lady out of the 3 persons. All right. She nodded slightly. The young master had always been keeping a close eye on Feng Ruching. He must have fallen for her. Hence, the people in Paramount must not turn a blind eye to Luyun Kingdom. In the Yang Xian Hall. Half sitting on the bed, Feng Tianyu coughed softly, his face was ghastly pale. He moved backward and let his head rested against the wall. Eunuch Ling, how long have you been serving me? This old servant had started serving your majesty ever since you were still a crown prince. Slightly startled, Eunuch Ling, who was still waiting beside Feng Tianyu, smiled wryly. Feng Tianyu smiled wryly and took out a jade ring under the pillow. The jade ring was so beautiful. It was translucent and glistening like a crystal. Eunuch Ling, please leave the palace for Feng Ruching. Give her this ring, isn't this the previous emperor's? A look of disbelief and shock crept into Eunuch Ling's eyes. Eunuch Ling, my father gave this to me before he left the palace. Take this ring as a pledge of our relationship so my father knows that she is his granddaughter. Qing'er is very talented. One day later, she would go into that place and meet him. With my poor health, I am afraid that I would never get into that place. Feng Tianyu closed his eyes slowly as he said in a weak voice. The whole realm only knew that the former emperor was the emperor of Luyun Kingdom and commanded the greatest respect. Simply no one knew the former emperor's other identity. However, the former emperor had entered that place and could never return for the rest of his life. As for Feng Tianyu, not only did he had poor health, he had devoted himself entirely to the kingdom and state affairs. Hence, he did not have much time for cultivation. Moreover, Feng Ruching was not capable of handling the kingdom affairs previously. Hence, he could not leave the palace for cultivation. Perhaps, he could never meet his father for the rest of his life. It was fortunate that Feng Ruching had changed. She was extremely talented. Perhaps, there was still a chance. Chapter 384. He does not want her to feel lonely and helpless. Your Majesty, doesn't the former emperor? Eunuch Lin bit back his words in shock. His Majesty said that the former emperor is still alive. If that was true, His Majesty and Empress Naylan would not have to suffer the hardships and no one would have dared to mistreat them. He is still alive, but he had a contract with those people that he would leave the city and never return to this place for the rest of his life. Feng Tianyu smiled wryly as he shook his head. By doing this, the whole realm would regain its peace and tranquility. Eunuch Lin, my father had exchanged his lifetime freedom for the peace of this realm. Otherwise, simply no one knows if the 5 kingdoms would still exist. If he knew that the people of the 4 kingdoms are attacking us, would he regret it? Feng Tianyu heaved a sigh melancholically. When Feng Tianyu was still young, he was reading the memorial when his father had rushed up to him with his body covered in blood to bid him farewell. Only then he realized his father's actual strength. His father had battled with a group of people for 3 days and came in neck and neck. The former emperor could not help but draw a contract with those people to stop them from massacring the people of Luyun Kingdom or hurting anyone around him. He had gone to a place without any way to turn back. In return, 3 influencers from the reclusive world were selected to stop anyone in the reclusive world from laying his hands on the civilians in the secular world. Whoever broke the promise would suffer the vessels of wrath. Your Majesty, the former emperor truly cares for the kingdom. Moreover, he never knew that there were actually other people who would harm Your Majesty and Empress Nalan besides the people from the reclusive world. Eunuch Lin sighed softly. I did not understand his decision back then. If I were him, I would not give up my freedom for the kingdom's well-being. Nothing is more important than my own family. Feng Tianyu smiled wryly. However, later on, I begin to understand. My father is the real emperor who reigns over the kingdom. He had concealed his own strength as he had long planned to get into the reclusive world. He was worried that those people would take revenge on him and hurt me. Hence, he had tasked me to handle all the kingdom affairs to train me. He was a father and the emperor of Luyun Kingdom. He wanted to protect me and, at the same time, keep an eye on the whole kingdom. Even though I am no match for him, I had always admired him. Ever since Feng Tianyu fell sick, he could hardly talk. Now, he was explaining so much as if he was afraid that Feng Ruqing would not know about this. Hence, he told Eunuch Lin everything. Your Majesty, you are a wise emperor too. Eunuch Lin's voice was trembling. No, I am just a father. Feng Tianyu shook his head with a smile on his face. He would never leave his daughter behind for his life. Eunuch Lin, Qing'er went to the Tang family. Take this jade ring and look for her. Tell her not to come back to Luyun Kingdom again. She is my only daughter. She must not die. Tell her not to avenge me without being sure that she will succeed. Feng Tianyu smiled faintly. Luyun Kingdom's enemies were not only the 4 kingdoms. Since the Lu family was part of this attack, that influencer had taken part too. Feng Tianyu did not want Feng Ruqing to deal with such great trouble before she was fully grown up. Chapter 385. He does not want her to feel lonely and helpless too, Your Majesty. I don't want to leave you. Please let this old servant stay with you. Eunuch Lin nearly burst into tears. Eunuch Lin, Luyun Kingdom's number is up. Since you are quite close to Qing'er, stay with her. I am worried that there is no one close to her by her side in the future. How can I leave her alone and helpless? Feng Tianyu's eyes were filled with pain. Eunuch Lin's body trembled slightly. Feng Tianyu was right. Everyone that Feng Ruqing loved, the Nalan family, the iron-blooded army, the spirit beasts, and the 2 little maidens were all in the Luyun Kingdom. If the kingdom had truly fallen, Feng Ruqing would be all alone. Thinking of his, Eunuch Lin's heart was broken. Your Majesty, don't worry, I will take good care of Her Highness. Eunuch Lin's eyes were flooded with tears as he was reluctant to leave. Ever since Eunuch Lin was little, he had entered the Crown Prince Manor and served the Emperor for his whole life. How could he leave the Emperor now? However, he could never leave the princess all alone, helpless. Feng Tianyu broke into a smile. An exquisitely gorgeous face flashed before his eyes. She was still as stunning as she was when they first met. Her dazzling smile was like a Cupid's arrow, piercing his heart, and he could never let go of her for the rest of his life. Yenner, I can finally see you. I would be so proud to tell you that our daughter has turned out to be such an amazing lady when I meet you in the underworld. Nalan Yen told Feng Tianyu that if she departed this life before him, she would wait for him under the Bridge of Helplessness and drink Mengpa soup together with him so they could be a couple again in their next lives. Now that Feng Tianyu had brought up their daughter, he could finally meet his late wife. She was no longer waiting for him alone, glancing at the people coming and going in the underworld. A drop of tear fell from the corner of Feng Tianyu's eyes. He began to cough violently and blood gushed out from his mouth. Collapsing to the bed, his face was drained of color. His dignified demeanor vanished in an instant. "Your Majesty." Eunuch Lin kneeled down beside the bed, his words were choked by sobbing. "Cough. Cough. Go now. If you don't leave now, you may not be able to leave later," Feng Tian coughed as he said. As soon as Feng Tianyu finished his words, the door of the Yang Xian hall creaked open. Stunned, Feng Tianyu turned his head sideways only to see a lady in a violet robe standing at the door. Ding! Ding! With a cold smile on her face, Lu Rong stepped into the hall, the golden dangling ornaments on her hair jingled as she walked. The sound was extremely awkward in a hall that was dead silent. "Your Majesty, your consort is here to serve you. Currently, I am the only one who can serve you in the palace." A faint smile hung on Lu Rong's lips. "Why are you here?" Seeing Lu Rong, Feng Tianyu's face darkened. "Your Majesty, you don't want to see me. Back then at the Flowers Feast, I have fallen for you at first sight. However, you only had eyes for Nailan Yen. I was such a fool to give you my heart." Lu Rong paused and let out a boisterous laugh. "My heart is so tiny that it can only keep Yenner. Even the whole realm is no match for her. As for you, you are no match for the whole realm. How can you compare yourself with her?" Feng Tianyu smirked. Hearing this, Nailan Yan's face contorted with rage. "What is so good about Nailan Yan? You were so in love with her when she was alive. Now that she is dead, you still love her. I have drugged you and had almost slept with you. But she was still on your mind even when you lost consciousness." Chapter 386, He does not want her to feel lonely and helpless. 3 Back then, as Lu Rong was extremely lonely in the cold palace 1, she could not resist the temptation and got pregnant with Feng Rushuang. However, if this was made known to others, she would definitely lose her life. Moreover, Lu Rong was so in love with Feng Tianyu. She could not resign herself to the fact that Feng Tianyu did not love her back. Hence, she listened to him and drugged Feng Tianyu. The drug was no ordinary filter. It was so extremely strong that it could make Feng Tianyu mistake Lu Rong for the lady that he loved the most. Lu Rong thought that she could get close to his heart by doing this. However, Feng Tianyu could actually tell the difference, at first sight. He knew that Lu Rong was not Nailan Yen and had nearly hurt her. It was fortunate that Feng Tianyu had lost his senses being drugged. When he woke up, he had forgotten everything that he did. Lu Rong wanted Feng Tianyu to think that he had slept with her and that Feng Ruhuang was his biological daughter. Haha. Even if Feng Tianyu is smart, he has actually been deceived for years. Feng Tianyu, Luyun Kingdom's number is up. The whole Nailan family is gone. You will never know that you did not sleep with me even when you die. Shuanger, who has always been calling you her father, is not your biological daughter. Lu Rong sneered. Hearing this, Feng Tianyu was still calm and composed as if he knew it long ago. Aren't you angry? I have hurt your dignity. You are the emperor of Luyun Kingdom but have actually been cheated for so long. Seeing Feng Tian's reaction, Lu Rong's face darkened a few shades. Lu Rong, you don't know me. You have no idea about the relationship between Yenner and I. Feng Tianyu smiled faintly. Dumbfounded, Lu Rong stared at Feng Tianyu in bewilderment. I have never mistaken you for Yenner even when I was drunk or drugged. Her spirit had been deeply engraved in my bone. Even if I mistook your face for hers, would never mistake you for her. Feng Tianyu, how could you know? Lu Rong's body stiffened. Lu Rong only told Feng Tianyu that he did not sleep with her. How did he know that he was drugged and mistook her for Nailan Yen? Lu Rong, I knew very well that Feng Ruishuang is not my daughter a long time ago. Feng Tianyu had been showing Feng Ruiqing so much of love and affection, but Feng Ruishuang did not get the slightest bit of it, as Feng Tianyu knew that Feng Ruishuang was not his biological daughter. In fact, I knew that you had an affair with someone in the reclusive world. Feng Ruishuang is associated with him too. Otherwise, you would have died long ago. I still spared your life even if you have done so many wrongdoings. Do you truly think that I am so patient? I just want to know who that person is. Feng Tianyu sighed. That person had taken Nailan Yan's life, and Feng Tianyu had been searching for him for a long time, but all his efforts had gone down the drain. Who could he be? However, I regret that I had devoted myself entirely to taking revenge and never thought that you would lay your hand on Qing'er. Originally, I thought that the person in the reclusive world wanted to kill me through you. Little did I know that you would actually target Feng Ruiqing. Feng Tianyu sighed. Later on, Feng Tianyu regretted the things that he did, but it was too late. He spared Lu Rong's life back then, as he knew that Lu Rong was associated with the person in the reclusive world. If he had killed Lu Rong, he was no doubt beating the grass to startle the snake. One, he feared that he would never know who the mastermind was. Chapter 387. He does not want her to feel lonely and helpless, for if only Feng Tianyu knew that Feng Ruiqing would be so close to Lu Rong, he would not hesitate to alert the mastermind behind this and penalize Lu Rong with any excuse. Hearing Feng Tianyu, Lu Rong's eyes darkened. In fact, approaching Feng Ruiqing was her own plan. As she had hated Nailan Yen, she wanted to ruin her daughter. She wanted Feng Ruiqing to be separated from her kin and live in Feng Ruishuang's shadow for the rest of her life. Lu Rong, that person from the Divine Herbs sect. Feng Ruishuang's biological father is here. Am I right? Feng Tianyu smirked. The Divine Herbs sect. That person had always been hiding and did not dare to lay his hand on Feng Tianyu for years, as he did not want Feng Tianyu to know his true identity or get penalized for breaking the rules. Feng Tianyu only knew this 2 days ago through Lu Rong. However, it was too late. Feng Tianyu could never avenge Nailan Yen. He only wished that he could bring this message to Feng Ruiqing so she knew who her true enemy was. Feng Tianyu, no matter what, you have lost. Lu Rong walked up to Feng Tianyu as she stared at him affectionately. The wrath in her eyes vanished without a trace. Lu Rong was truly in love with this man. As she knew that she could never see him again, she wanted to look at him as long as she could. Feng Tianyu smiled faintly, his stunning face was still calm and nonchalant. No, I haven't lost. My love for Yen'er is never lost. Even if Feng Tianyu had lost the whole realm, he did not lose Yen'er. The whole realm was no match for her. The only thing that Feng Tianyu wanted was Nailan Yen. Hence, Feng Tianyu truly admired his father, as his father could give up everything for the peace of this realm. Feng Tianyu. Nailan Yen is nothing but a jinx. She caused the fall of Lu Yun Kingdom. Seeing Feng Tianyu's affectionate gaze, Lu Rong was burning with jealousy. A beauty had always been a scourge. This was especially true for Nailan Yen, whose beauty could overthrow the kingdom. She was the root of all troubles. Feng Tianyu, let me tell you this. It's all because of Nailan Yen. It is her beauty that had attracted the young master of Divine Herbs sect, Xin Yang. She seduced him but did not want to be his wife. Hence, everything that happened to Lu Yun Kingdom is all because of her. Lu Rong sneered as she suppressed the anger. Not only was Nailan Yen still in Feng Tianyu's mind, but even young Master Xin Yang also kept murmuring her name when he slept with Lu Rong. She did not know why all the men had changed once they met Nailan Yen. The young Master Xin Yang did not even get married all these years because of Nailan Yen. Even though he had plenty of beautiful concubines, none of them were made the principal wife. Apparently, Lu Rong did not fall for young Master Jin Yang. She was just taking what she needed from him. However, she could not resign herself to the fact that there were plenty of decent men who fell for Nailan Yen. What is the purpose of telling me this? Even if someone had taken her away, as long as she is alive, I would still have the chance to win back her heart. However, once she is dead, there is nothing I can do. Feng Tianyu smiled wryly. Chapter 388, Qin Chen I How Feng Tianyu wished that Nailan Yen was still alive and stayed at a place in Sangyu mainland. Even if Nailan Yen was taken away by the people who drooled over her beauty, so long as she was still alive, Feng Tianyu did not care if she was all alone or she already had someone by her side. He did not even care if she had given her heart away and did not want to come back to him. He only wished her to be still alive. Nailan Yen is beautiful, but it is not her fault. The people of Divine Herb's sect had taken my wife away. She was the most innocent person. Feng Tianyu's eyes were fixed on Lu Rong. It was not Nailan Yan's fault. She was innocent and she had lost her life because of her beauty. It was those people who drooled over her beauty to be blamed. Feng Tianyu did not allow anyone to point her finger at Nailan Yen. Burning with jealousy, Lu Rong quickly unsheathed her sword and pointed it at Feng Tianyu. Feng Tianyu, I want you to call Nailan Yen a slut. Say it. Feng Tianyu merely closed his eyes with a smile on his face. My Yenner is the best lady that I have ever met. She is unparalleled in the whole realm. Feng Tianyu, are you still the emperor who stood aloof from the masses and the top of Luyun Kingdom? Now, you are just as weak as a chicken. Do you truly think that I won't kill you because I love you? If you don't do as what I said, I will kill you. With the sword in her grip, Lu Rong's hand was trembling. Her eyes were blazing with rage. Originally, Eunuch Ling only stared at both of them and did not utter a word as he wanted to know more details. However, seeing Lu Rong who was so daring and pointed the sword at Feng Tianyu, he could not resist the anger and rushed forward to take the sword away from Lu Rong. Even though Lu Rong was lack of talent, at this time, she was as if attained a great strength. She kicked Eunuch Ling at his pants and had sent him flying in the air. You swine! You truly think that I don't know you always go against me all these years? I will deal with you later. Eunuch Ling spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were burning with rage as he stared at Lu Rong. Advanced True Warrior Tier. It was just one step away from Spirit Warrior Tier. You are doping, aren't you? Feng Tianyu had no idea since when Lu Rong had gone this far. Some of spirit herbs had been forbidden as these spirit herbs could enhance the cultivator's strength and made a breakthrough in a snap of finger. However, the side effect was inexhaustible. Hence, they were forbidden in the reclusive world, let alone the secular world. Lu Rong must have attained the advanced true warrior tier because of doping. Otherwise, she could hardly do that for her whole life.